Good morning. Well, yes, let's go back again now and look at not Isaiah, but the Gospel of Luke, where Jesus is using this first part of the 61st chapter as his mandate and saying to the people in Nazareth, this is my ministry and this is what I'm going to do. As I said, he changes the comma. He stops to proclaim the year of the Lord's favour, the year of Jubilee. The year of Jubilee in which we are still living. You see, people come to church on a Sunday and they kneel down and they make their confession, and as a parish priest I stand up and I proclaim absolution. It looks so easy. But this is the year of Jubilee, and we've got to take advantage of it. This is the year when forgiveness is given. This is the year when all things are put right. He puts a full stop at that particular point. And then he says to us in Luke's Gospel, then he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. See, people stood to read the scriptures, then they would sit down to preach. So, if I sat down to preach, well, my sermons good. I don't know how long they would be. It's best I keep standing, because by standing, then we make sure the sermons are quite short. But, when in Judaism, people would stand to read the scriptures, then they would sit down to preach. And that's what Jesus does. Gave it back to the attendant and sat down. The eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him. He began by saying to them, Today, this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing. See, he is proclaiming to the people of his own time that he truly is the Messiah. Now the question is, will they accept it? They look at him and they say, this is the son of the handyman. This is the carpenter's son. This is the person who used to come round to our homes, repair our doors, put up our fences, put in our windows. This is the person, if we had something broken, we'd take it to him and he'd mend it. Who is this man? How is he daring to say that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me? How is he daring to say things like this? And Jesus recognizes their problem. And he says to them, truly, he says here, I say to you, you will quote this proverb to me, physician, heal yourself. And Jesus is speaking now. And you will tell me, do here in your hometown what we have heard you did in Capernaum. And he says, truly, I tell you, no prophet is accepted in his hometown. And then he really goes on to annoy them and say something very special. And he says this, I assure you that there were many widows in Israel in Elijah's time, when the sky was shut up for 3.5 years, and there was a severe famine throughout the land. Yet Elijah was not sent to any of them, but to a widow in Zarephath, in the region of Sidon. Stop and think about that, he says. And there were many in Israel, leprosy in the times of Elisha. Yet none of them was healed, only Naaman the Syrian. See, he's saying something very interesting. He's saying in these great times, in great tragedies, God moved not to the Jewish people, but to the Gentiles. The widow that Elijah helped was in fact a Gentile. And Naaman the Syrian was not in fact a Jew. He was a Gentile. This so annoys the people in Nazareth that they say, this man's a heretic. Not only do we know that he's just a local carpenter's son, but he's pointing out to us that when God moved in the past, he moved to the people of Gentiles, even before he moved out to the people of Israel. And they become so angry that they almost take him out of the synagogue. Remember, it's a Sabbath day. They shouldn't have been doing this. They take him out of the synagogue and they're going to throw him off the cliff. There's a great cliff in Nazareth. You can look out from the top of this cliff and you can look right across the plain, right to Megiddo itself. We're in the distant future, where one day in the future, the great battles were going to be taking place. And they're going to throw him off the top of the cliff. But somehow he just escapes from them, walks through their midst and goes on their way. But he'd made his declaration in Nazareth, and he had said to them quite simply, this is why I've come. I've come to declare the year of the Lord's favour, the year in which we are still living. And then he jumps over the vengeance, and we'll be coming to that in the next chapter. And he says this, to comfort all who mourn. This is going to be his purpose. To comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of the spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, for the display of his splendor. See, this is why he's come. He's come to proclaim this. And he is saying quite simply that in these end times, the end times you read about in the 60th chapter, awake, arise, shine, for your light has come. He is saying at the end times, this is what he's going to do. He's going to bless his people in this way.